Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mind, Body, and Soul series on the Success Insight podcast. The series celebrates the journeys and stories of health and wellness advocates and professionals who are committed to helping clients and patients realize their physical, emotional, and spiritual courage and well-being. Zander Sprague is our guest today on the Mind, Body, and Soul series. Zander is a keynote speaker and conference presenter, a TV and podcast host, an award-winning author, and a licensed professional clinical counselor. Zander, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. You're here with a smile, which is, it's not just, it's the holidays, it's Friday. We're in a beautiful place, so it is so very good to meet you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, Howard. And boy, that is a mouthful, all those things I do.
It's like, wow, it's like, when does this guy have time? But it's somehow, I always talk about some of the work we do. If we had a beat up old Chevy, not that there's anything wrong with beat up old Chevys, it takes a lot to keep the car running sometimes. And like, oh my God. But when we have a sports car, we have to take care of it to keep it running.
Absolutely.
And it's about managing our time and our energy. And then we do good things. We have fun. And just based on your background, I can tell you're having a lot of fun. Now, for our listener, first off, before I start to get into some questions, I want to thank our friends at Podmatch, because this is how I met Zander. I got a nice inquiry about being on the podcast, and always am up for a great conversation. So again, here we are, and thank you. I would love, Zander, if you could just provide some backstory of who is Zander Sprague.
Oh my. Who am I? I guess
we have 30 to 45 minutes, by the way.
There we go. So, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, as you said, I'm a best-selling author, TV host, podcast host, and licensed professional clinical counselor. Just a quick background. I grew up in the Boston, Massachusetts area. I went to college in Southern California, worked in San Francisco for a few years, moved back to Boston for 6 years, which really cemented the fact that I do not like the weather in New England. So I said, I'm going back to California. And I did. And I've been here for over 25 years. And I'm lucky that I get to do what I love. And I love helping people. And I think there's so much in our life that is epic, and we've all done epic things. And the funny thing, Howard, when I ask people about what they've done that's epic, everyone goes, oh, nothing. But if I probe a little, we've all done things that are actually kind of impressive, but we somehow downplay that. And that is one of those things that makes me eternally curious. Why is it that we downplay our success?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting when you share that. And I think part of it is just how we have been born and raised, the culture where we're in. And we're also products of our parents, our extended family influences. And I was just chatting with a client the other day about what has been the success that you have experienced throughout the year. And they were using, well, I kind of just fell into this stuff. And I said, well, what if not falling in, but you made it happen? And it's like you just said, if we can think about and be intentional about making things happen, then more and more things happen. It's like what you think about, you bring about. And I love the fact that your work is just kind of helping people make that first step. And I know it's not lost on me. Behind you is a great book. And I was reading some of the reviews from it today, is epic, beginning with the first step forward. And why do you think some folks have that challenge of getting that first step, taking or even getting into the ring, so to speak?
Well, okay. So whatever your epic journey that you want to go on is, most of the time we think of something epic, and maybe it's writing a book. Maybe you want to run a marathon. Maybe you want to start a business, whatever it is. We get overwhelmed thinking about all of the steps that we need to take. And you get you're like, oh, but I don't have all the answers. I can't start until I have all the answers. Well, let me make it really simple, Howard. Do you have the answers to all the questions that you're going to get asked today?
No,
Did that stop you from getting up?
no,
No, exactly. So I'm not sure why, if you don't have all the answers for how am I going to write a book? Well, you want to know what? When you go out to write a book, most times it doesn't come out all at once. It is a process. And um, so when people want to do these epic things in their life, and when I talk about that, I talk about the things that we go, oh, someday I'd like to
mhm,
travel here, do this, whatever. We get stuck. And I honestly, I when I came up with the idea for the book, it was the beginning of the pandemic, and
okay,
I had in February of 2020, I just finished up my hours for my licensing for my professional clinical counseling license, and I had all these plans. And a month later, we were on lockdown, and everything I had planned to do, I couldn't do now. So I was like, now what do I do? And I got thinking about, I was reflecting on my life because I had nothing else to do, right? I ran out all the tasks around the home to do. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, I've done some pretty epic things in my life. I've been fortunate to travel to many places in the world and see amazing things.
mm,
I've run half marathons and marathons and ultra marathon. I wrote books, and let me tell you, that's the biggest, most epic thing because I'm a talker, not a typer, and the fact that I've written 3 books honestly blows my mind.
mhm,
But my point was, how did I do all of that? Well, all of that honestly starts with one step forward. And a funny thing happens when we begin this epic journey. That first step is not nearly as hard as we imagined it would be. And all it does is you take that one step, right? The marathons started with me taking one step forward. Now, it is daunting to think about running 26.2 miles. It's a really long way. I did it
yes,
multiple times, trust me. However, I had to deal with the road that was right in front of me. I couldn't worry at mile 1, I couldn't worry about mile 20 because I wasn't there. I had to deal with what's in front of me. And that is true of any of these epic things that we dream of doing. Just start doing it. You want to know what? You're not going to have all the answers, but that's okay. You still take the steps forward. Look, sometimes you get it wrong. Okay. We are going to fail at things. I don't know why people, when they're talking about starting a company, are, I don't have all the answers. Who does?
right. I've an individual. I went through their mastermind program, started as a boot camp, and they use this metaphor of build the airplane as you fly it. And if you don't have all the answers, we'll just shift gears a little bit and either find the answer or build a different airplane. But the key is, I think you're spot on, is just do it. And I'm curious. I mean, you shared that the books, the 3 books, are your perhaps biggest epic adventures that you have had. And I know you've had others. What do you? What are some of the examples that when people cross your path, whether they come to a conference where you're speaking at, or maybe you're selling a program, marketing a program at the back of the room after you've been part of the keynote. What are some of the epic adventures that you're finding folks are looking to achieve, and now you're here, you're able to help them with that first step? What are some of those examples?
Well, a lot of people are like, oh, I think I have a book in me. I'd like to write a book.
Okay.
And, and I'm like, that's awesome. As I said, I'm a talker, not a typer. When I sat down to write my first book, I sat down just like everyone else and in my computer and I tried to type and it just wasn't going. And then I got thinking about, well, don't work hard, the whole work smarter, not harder. And I said, well, why don't I just dictate this? Because I
Mhm,
certainly know how to talk.
mhm.
So that's what I did. I had a digital recorder. I recorded it. I got it transcribed. Nowadays, we're lucky because Microsoft Word or Google Docs or whatever allows you to just dictate right into it. There are tons of great programs where you could just do an audio recording and we'll make a transcript for you. I mean, we're lucky in this day and age that it's gotten a lot easier. But at least I then had something to work with. I kind of had the clay to work with to form my book. I also learned that when I'm talking that stream of consciousness, that I have a heck of a lot of run-on sentences and thoughts that started over here on A, and I got to B, but I somehow went through C, D, and E first to get there, and I'm like, wow, makes sense when you're talking, but when you read it, you're like, that is confusing. And how did I get from there? I mean, it's funny what happens when you see your own words on paper, and then you think, wow, that was I got to fix that. So
It's not lost in it for our listeners that I learned as I was researching for today's episode is Zander is a member of the National Speakers Association, which I know quite a few coaches, consultants who are also part of it. But that is a great proving ground for getting better speaking or getting better writing and
absolutely.
presenting.
Absolutely. I love National Speakers Association. I've learned so much. And an amazing thing about this organization is that even though technically we're all competing with each other to get on a stage,
Mhm.
people are so generous with their time and knowledge. And that's awesome
Right.
because who doesn't want to be around people who have more experience and go, I will freely share that with you because you shouldn't have to struggle to figure this out. And that I think is really unique. And I think it's great. It's probably why we're all motivational speakers.
Now, I have to share your story about when COVID and lockdown. So I moved from Chicago to Las Vegas literally during the lockdown. In fact, I came here the week of the lockdown to Vegas, and my coaching manager said, Howard, you can't come back in the office. And so the cab zipped her back around to the office. My coworker gave me my PC and my power cord. So I had my client's laptop and I stayed back in Chicago, but eventually moved here to back to Vegas. But a couple of years earlier, I had a similar story to yours. Is I had, in this case, I had a client who wanted to write and didn't have a way to kind of get it done. And that's how the podcast started, which was, well, why don't I just interview you? And these transcription tools were just coming into their own, very powerful. They weren't very
Mhm.
expensive anymore. And it was so easy to get the content out there. But and I just did one of my false starts, or on my podcasting, when I edit it, that's my weak spot. So I will go in and I'll edit all those out, but I love that journey. It's just starting off, get the right tools, the right support system behind you, like the National Speakers Association and their members. I am curious a little bit though about your practice, the LPCC as a clinical counseling professional,
Yeah,
because a reason I would like to go here a little bit is I know about I've read about your background, and again, I don't want to push you into sharing. We'll share whatever you want to share, but I do work with a lot of through the my outdoors podcast and folks even on the mind, body, and soul. Folks have been going through their healthcare journey, their
definitely.
scare, and I love the idea of begin with the first step because even though you have been, say, diagnosed with cancer, just use
Mhm.
that as an example,
Sure.
it doesn't mean you stay in your home, your apartment, your studio, your tiny home, and you don't go out anymore. But how do you take that first step of taking care of the medical side of it, but taking care of the emotional, the mental health side? I was wondering if that's an area that you are perhaps familiar with.
I am both personally and professionally. And I think mindset when we have, I call these epic unexpected, right? These epic things that happen in our life, obviously unexpected. And I'll use a personal example because it makes it more real. 3 years ago, I crashed on my mountain bike and shattered my shoulder. I
Mm.
blew up the head of my humerus. I broke. I had another fracture in my humerus. I had a hairline fracture in my pelvis. I walked a mile and a half out on that, thinking that I just had like a groin pull. Got to the hospital. They're like, yeah, you did a good job. You're going to need surgery and all of that. And I had a surgery. They put in a plate and 14 screws and stuff. And then the humeral fracture, the shaft fracture didn't heal. And I broke the titanium plate. So I had to go in for another surgery to
Mm.
take out the broken plate, put in a new plate. Throughout that, I could have been like, "Oh my god, this is terrible. What am I gonna do?" But from the get-go, I'm like, "Well, first of all, this makes for a really epic story, and boy, do I look pretty awesome to say I walked a mile and a half out on a hairline fracture in my pelvis." I mean, wow. That's the kind of stage, like, you're on the stage and people are like, "Wow, look at that," right? Again, I did what I had to do to get myself to help, right? But my mindset the whole time was, I love road biking. I'm like, "I'm getting back on my road bike. I'm going to be okay." And I am. Day to day, my shoulder is fine. I don't necessarily have all of the range of motion that I wanted or that I would like, but it's more than good enough. And I'm not walking around in pain. And that's a great thing. But I think for anyone who's facing these health challenges, big part of the mental is believing that you're going to be okay. There are so many. I've recently been reflecting on um, people in Hollywood who you're like, oh, I know that person. And I was just watching a show from a couple of years ago, and there was Alan Alda, and I'm
Mm.
like, how old is Alan Alda, right? And great thing with technology, you go, how old is Alan Alda? How old? Look, Dick Van Dyke just turned 100 years old,
Yeah.
and I was like, what is it? Why do we have these actors who seem to be working way well into their 80s, 90s, and stuff like that? What is that? And I'm still trying to figure that out. But I think some of that is one, staying busy, two, not accepting the number that, chronologically you have. It is how old you feel.
Mhm.
My mom is 85 years old. The mobility isn't as great, but she traveled to the Pantanal in Brazil last year, which is the world's largest wetlands, because she wanted to see it.
Mhm.
I'm going to Japan with her in the spring because she wants to see it. And her attitude is, I'm going places as long as I can, because she does realize at some point she may not be able to do that. But she's like, the number doesn't define who I am or what I can do. And so if you're facing, let's say, cancer, you have a cancer diagnosis, yes, that I can't imagine that is devastating. However, you're not dead today. Surprise yourself today. Keep doing stuff. If there's the stuff you've been putting off for another day, a rainy day, whatever, start doing it now. The more active we are, the more engaged we are in that we believe in our own success, that's going to
Okay.
happen. There's sort of that, tell the universe that you want something and then the universe will deliver. Well, okay. And even if you have unfortunately, if you have a really bad diagnosis, make the best of what you have. Be realistic, but also say, I'm okay. And tell the people around you, don't treat you as if you're infirmed, you're dead, you're whatever. You're not.
I love that. In the book, Epic begins with the three
With one
steps,
step
one
forward,
step
right?
forward. my eyes, I'm looking at the book right now. There's
Yeah.
but within this book, is this a how-to book? Is it a combination of how-to and anecdotal stories from the folks that you have chatted with? How's this book constructed?
Yeah, it's kind of a how yeah, I'd say it's a how-to book. I'm talking about the different aspects of our epic journeys. I talk about, that failure is part of the journey.
Mhm.
And I think we're all afraid to fail. I don't set out to fail, but I do accept that I'm not going to be 100% successful. And but here's something, Howard. The only things you'll fail at 100% are the things that you do not try.
Right. I love it. That's wonderful.
And
Go ahead.
and the other thing that's just, I think, a common part of human nature, and again, like, fascinates me. I guess it's the psychologist in me that goes, why do we do that? Why is that happening? Is I have something I call the 97-3 rule. And that is, it's simple, that I believe that 97% of your day is actually good and up to 3% isn't good. Yes, we all have days where we have just a really bad day, yeah, and so it's higher than 3%, but in general, it's most of your day is good. And yet, when I talk to people, and I do this too, focus on the things that didn't go right and completely ignore the parts that did go right, right? And when I was doing my internship, I was doing school-based. I was in middle school and high school, and a lot of my clients had some academic challenges. And I'd ask them, and so here, I'll play the game with you, Howard. In school, what was your least favorite subject?
Sciences.
Okay. So if you got a 97 on your science test, how would you feel?
I would feel great.
You'd be ecstatic. You'd tell your friends, you tell your parents, you'd be really excited. Would you be complaining about the 3 points you didn't get?
No, my parents would, but that's okay. But I
Okay.
wouldn't.
That's a different podcast, Howard.
That's a different.
But no, you're not complaining about those 3 points. You're like, oh my gosh, look at this thing that was so hard I did so well on. Well, why are we forgetting all the good things that happened on our day and only go, well, my computer crashed right before the podcast? Well, that wasn't your whole day. That was a mere moment, a blink in your day. And yet that's what we focus on. And so when you're on your epic journey, remember all the things that are going right, because so
Mhm.
many more things are going right than are going wrong. It's not to ignore them, but it is to say there's so much more that is going right.
I
So
love it.
there I am raising my hand.
Raising your hand. All right, that's good. So, how does this work in in the book? How is that informing, say, the TV show and the podcast? Because I was listening to a couple of the interviews, uh, and I like the fact that they're short, sweet, and to the point, and which more power to you. I have a great face for radio. You're like Mr. Photogenic. Just
Thank you so much.
but
I, I, I,
how's that working for you?
it's working great. I have to say, the book came, and then I'm like, well, I love talking about epic, and I want to highlight the epic that's out there. The TV show evolved, and it's all the same name. Epic begins with one step forward, because I wanted to be in person with
Mhm.
people. I do my podcast over Zoom. It's great, but I actually wanted to be in studio with someone. And
Mhm.
I also wanted, and I am creating content that is highlighting the goodness, positive, the epic things that local businesses and people in my community are doing. Because let's face it, we turn on the news and it's fire, flood, or blood. It's like all the things that are wrong, and I'm like, there's got to be some positive programming out there. And so I'm like, best way to do that is to create it yourself, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay. Yeah. I was looking on the one website where people can enroll to be a guest. What is the criteria for them? Because I'm a member of the reason I'm asking is I'm a member of the Outdoor Writers Association of America, and there's a number of my peers in this organization that they're very accomplished journalists, authors, photographers. One in particular has this amazing story. Her book was "So Said the River." She's an her love of her life is not so much the man in her life or a man that was in her life, but it's the Colorado River. But this idea of after the breakdown of her relationship, discovering stand-up paddle boarding and being out on the river and just being surrounded and protected by it and nurtured by it. It's also a dangerous river, but I was thinking she would be a great Colleen would be a great guest for your podcast. So I'm curious how folks get to enroll and what are you looking for in your ideal guest?
Well, if if people just go to epicbegins.com, you'll get links to I've got, like most entrepreneurs, lots of different websites, but you'll find the contact info to write, send me an email, Zander at epicbegins.com. That's Xander with a Z. And just say, hey, maybe I could be a good guest. And I'm looking to highlight the epic things that people are doing. Now, look, maybe it's your business, maybe it's some epic adventure that you've been on. An interesting story is really what I'm looking for. For people who might want to be on the TV show, you gotta either be local to the San Francisco Bay Area or willing to travel in. I am not opposed to that. I can't pay to bring people in, but if you're willing to travel in because you're like, I want to be on broadcast TV and I want to sit down with Xander in person, give me a call. I film I film multiple episodes every month, and I'm all look like a podcast host and TV host. I'm looking for guests. I'm looking for good content.
Okay. No, I love it. I actually I will I'm happy to be interviewing you and having you on the show right now. So I've this is good. But I have some colleagues and peers from the outdoor writers
That would be great, Howard. I
that'd be a
honestly
great guest.
would welcome that because
Okay.
it's there is so much epic out there. We just need to highlight it.
And I think we need to know more about the epic that's out there because there's so much negativity out in the universe. I think sitting down for 30 minutes and embracing epic is I think it's good for us. It's I think you mentioned somewhere this the chicken soup for your soul. That is chicken soup for your soul
It
is
is
embrace that epic. Okay.
absolutely.
Xander, as you look back on your journey and where you are today, what surprises you the most?
Well, the fact that I've written 3 books and 2 of them were Amazon bestsellers. I mean, honestly, like I I wrote my first book and I told people I was coming out with a book and I sat on it for 5 years because I didn't believe I was a writer.
Mhm.
And and I got tired of hearing myself say that. I didn't want to be that person 20 years later saying something that wasn't actually true. So I got brave, put on my big boy pants, and I released the book. And an amazing thing, my first book is called Making Lemonade, Choosing a Positive Pathway After Losing Your Sibling. And not to bring this whole conversation down too much, but another side of what I do is I do a lot of work with and for sibling survivors, people who've lost their brother or sister. It's very
Mhm.
important to me. I sit on the board of the Compassionate Friends, which is an organization for families who've lost a son or daughter, brother, sister, and great organization. And I'm the sibling representative, so I kind of lead the siblings right now. And but my first book, amazing thing happened, Howard. People told me that they liked it.
Mhm.
And I had the biggest case of imposter syndrome for the first like 9 months. I would have believed more that if people told me it wasn't worth the paper it was printed on than that they liked it. But I was like, okay, I've got enough empirical evidence that enough people have said that they found the book helpful that it's there. But honestly, looking back, if you told me in college I was going to write 3 books, I would have said, "No, there's no way. I hate writing." And
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't like writing. However, I can talk really well, and there are tools that allow me to get my ideas into a form that I can then put into a book to share with others. And it is so rewarding when people let me know that they found the book helpful,
Mhm,
that they like what I said, that I've
mhm.
inspired them.
I love it, and you have found that recipe for success, and it's keep building from there. Xander, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast and to kind of chat about your journey. I'm sure there's a lot more we could chat about and go in different directions, but first and foremost, if our listeners would like to learn more about you and your work, uh, this whether it's the books or just the more about your story, your blogging, your podcast, where are the best places to go to find you?
If you go to epicbegins.com, EPICBEGNIS.com, you will find all things Xander. If you just Google Zander Sprague, I absolutely guarantee you cannot miss me. It's Xander with a Z, Zander. And look, I'm not, I tried to make it easy to find me. So I'm all over it. Obviously on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. Um, the
Sounds good.
internet's a great place to find information.
Yeah, these days it's amazing. It's amazing. So Xander, but I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day and really so we can learn more about each other. I can share you with my audience, and just been a great way to get to know you the past 30, 40 minutes or so. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me on, Howard. It's been, dare I say, epic.
I I love that. I love that. Listen, stay in the line. We're going to do a very quick close, and you and I can have a final chat. Okay.
You bet.
All right, folks, we have just been chatting with Zander Sprague. He is keynote speaker, conference presenter, TV host, and podcast host, award winning author, 3 books, licensed professional clinical counselor, and really just a phenomenal story and this journey that he has been on. And I love this idea of epic. And I think I certainly do agree and embrace this idea that we all have epic in us. And as Xander espouses, all it takes is to begin with that one step forward. And I love the work he's doing. Do check out the books and also the podcast. And we're going to provide all those backlinks in our show notes. But again, epicbegins.com is his website. And then from there, you can go off to all of his social sites. And unlike my name, there's probably a gazillion Howard Foxes out there. He's got this wonderful name, Zander Sprague. So he's going to be at the top of the Google search results for sure. Listen, if you enjoyed this episode, do visit us on our website, successinsightpodcast.com. This episode will be organized within our Mind, Body, and Soul series. You can find us also on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages, and the episode will also be up on YouTube as well. All right, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there and have a fantastic day. As we record this episode, we are nearing the new year, the holidays. And so whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, just be safe, take care of yourselves and your family. And we look forward to having you join us on a future episode of the Success Insight Podcast. Take care now.